Chicago Network Television, celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Southern man, better keep your head. Don't forget what your good book says. Southern change gonna come at last. Now your crosses are burning fast. Lily Bell, your hair is golden brown. I see your black man coming round. Swear by God I'm gonna cut him down. I heard screaming and bullwhips cracking. How long?
I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed earth will rise again. How long? Not long. Because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long. Because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long. How long? Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. How long? Not long. Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
To celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is to understand what the civil rights movement of the 1960s actually accomplished.
Martin Luther King Jr. did it when none of us knew he was going to do it. None of us knew how he was going to do it. We are telling you about the origins out of which he came, but then something took over.
One day after finishing school, I was called to a little church down in Montgomery, Alabama. I started preaching there. Things were going well in that church. It was a marvelous experience. One day, a year later, a lady by the name of Rosa Parks decided that she wasn't going to take it. She stayed in a bus seat. You may not remember it because it's way back now, several years, but it was the beginning of a movement.
On this very special edition of Urban Street, we'll look back at what it took to bring attention to discrimination and racism in America.
active resistance and still determined to use the weapon of love. We are still insisting emphatically that violence is self-defeating, that he who lives by the sword will perish by the sword.
50,000 black men and women refused absolutely to ride the city buses, and we walked together for 381 days. Negroes have to learn to stick together. We stuck together. We sent out the call. No Negro rode the buses. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life.
This morning, the long-awaited mandate from the United States Supreme Court concerning bus segregation came to Montgomery. This mandate expresses in terms that are crystal clear that segregation in public transportation is both legally and sociologically invalid. In the light of this mandate and the unanimous vote rendered by the Montgomery Improvement Association about a month ago, the year-old protest against city buses is officially called off, and the Negro citizens of Montgomery are urged to return to the buses tomorrow morning on a non-segregated basis.
It's the sexiest song on your radio. Dance For Me by the Mark Williams.
Darling, you are all the woman that I need. Just look at you. Hair done, nails done.
Dance For Me. An intimate, modern, romantic love story set to a sophisticated old school groove.
Do you know what really makes me happy? I love it when you dance. When you dance.
If you buy one download this year, make sure it's Dance For Me. Dance For Me, the sensual R&B smash from the Mark Williams on Master Sellers Music. Dance For Me, available for digital download on iTunes, Amazon, Google Music, CD Baby, and all streaming services.
WVON News, while it's news.
That is something that I must say to my people. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline in the process of gaining our rightful place.
Well, that was an idea that came from me because Dr. Martin Luther King was the first person, be it black, white, brown, green, whatever, to actually have a message for black people, to give them the inspiration that they themselves can pick themselves up by their bootstrap and be able to be somebody, be able to survive. And I wanted to keep this on people's mind. And the best way to do that would take excerpts from his speeches and incorporate that in our newscast, which was on an hourly basis. So he was heard throughout the day.
When Dr. King traveled to Chicago in 1966, his journey from the South was met with tremendous resistance.
In Chicago, on the day that we marched through that narrow street, and we marched by 4,000 or 5,000 people that day, but they were in trees.
That's correct. Change frequency.
It was the most serious. I guess we marched about 5 miles, didn't we? But they had at least 10,000 whites assembled on us. And there must have been about 4,000 policemen trying to protect us. But every minute almost, somebody's nose was getting broken. You just every way you turn. And the policemen were going ahead, and they were finding people in these trees. They were holding up, come out of the tree, because they were in these trees to shoot or anything. They were saying to us yesterday, don't march. I listened to it. I said to myself, our marching feet have done too much now to give up. If you want us to end our moves into communities, open these communities. I don't mind saying to you, I'm tired of the tension surrounding our day. I don't mind saying to you, I'm tired of living every day under the threat of death. I have no martyr complex. I want to live as long as anybody in this building, and sometimes I begin to doubt whether I'm going to make it through. I must confess I'm tired. Yes, I'm tired of going to jail. I'm tired of all of the surging murmur of life's restless sea. So I'll tell anybody, I'm willing to start marches. I don't march because I like it. I march because I must, and because I'm a man, and because I'm a child of God. I just gave up. I wouldn't say I was so afraid as that I had yielded to the real possibility of the inevitability of death. I mean, I had concluded. I concluded. That day in Philadelphia, when I was speaking, and Rainey was behind me, you remember? And all the others, and I started saying the murderers are probably around, and some man behind said, you damn well, they're right behind you right now. Rainey said, he said, yeah, I'm right behind you. He said, yeah. And brother, and I was here speaking, they all standing behind me. And I just knew, then, let me see, was it, did I pray or did Ralph pray? Ralph prayed. Yeah, Ralph prayed that day. And we had to close our eyes. And I just knew then that they were just going to burn our never did. Ralph says he prayed with his open. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. I say to you today, my friend, let freedom reign. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom reign. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom reign. From the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania, let freedom reign. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom reign. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom reign from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom reign from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom reign from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom reign, and when this happens, when we allow freedom reign, when we let it reign from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
It's the sexiest song on your radio. Dance for Me by the Mark Williams.
Darling, You are all the woman that I need. Just look at you. Hair done, nails done.
Dance for Me, an intimate, modern, romantic love story set to a sophisticated old-school groove.
Do you know what really makes me happy? I love it when you dance. When you dance.
If you buy one download this year, make sure it's Dance for Me. Dance for Me, the sensual R&B smash from the Mark Williams on Master Sellers Music. Dance for Me, available for digital download on iTunes, Amazon, Google Music, CD Baby, and all streaming services.
When we return, Urban Street talks to former Temptation Eddie Kendricks about the civil rights movement in the 1960s.
Race relations, and when we were coming up on the road, we were with the Temps now, and we had to do these restaurants. We couldn't go in the restaurant because we couldn't eat there, and then they would bring us out this green meat, which we wouldn't eat anyway.
In a recent conversation with ex-Temptation Eddie Kendricks, the topic of the civil rights movement came up. He began to reminisce about how the Temptations were treated during the 1960s. Despite the crossover popularity of their red-hot Motown sound, they still had to face extreme prejudice.
When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, my girl, my girl, talking about my girl, my girl.
Race relations, and when we were coming up on the road, we were with the Temps now, and we had to do these restaurants. We couldn't go in the restaurant because we couldn't eat there, and then they would bring us out this green meat, which we wouldn't eat anyway. So what we did was hire this our valet. We made him start to have a little restaurant or a little snack bar on the bus, and that's how we kind of survived.
Separate water fountains, the ultimate symbol of racism in the South, brought back vivid memories for Eddie.
We used to have the colored fountains that we had to drink out the water, and the colors here and blacks there. But we, as children, would always drink out the white fountain because we wanted to see how that water tastes. Was it different than ours? So we would just steal and drink out the fountain. So it didn't really, the relationship really didn't, the relation didn't really matter to us because we were gung-ho anyway. Like we used to rock the police at night. They tell us to get off the block, and we would go get off the block, we'd go get some rocks, and we would put the rocks down beside us, and when they come back around again, we'd take the rocks and rock the car, and then we would run through the alleys and run through the people's yard where the wires were, right? The clothes wires. And when they run through the clothes wires, it was all over the place. Not being able to live in some of the hotels and eat. But all that was broken down too. That's no longer happening. And I'd like to thank some of the guys that did that. They did a really good job. That's why things are where they are now. Because I was living in a place where Rosa Parks, Miss Rosa Parks, I'm sorry, made that final stand. Because as kids, again, we would get on the bus and they would have us all stacked down at the back of the bus where nobody was sitting in the front. And this sign was saying white and black. What we would do was take the seats and move the sign up until everybody got a seat. And then we would own the whole bus until they got upset with us when they called the police on us one day. Because we were real rough as kids. We didn't take none of that if we could help it. because we would defy all those rules, but that was never talked about until now. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that. That how you used to, as a kid, you got balls that you don't normally have being a grown-up. And I'm really proud that Mrs. Parks said at the time that she said that she would never get up again. They would just have to throw her off of the bus. And I do understand what she meant, because it was kind of rough at that time. When there's nobody sitting in front, you got to sit back and cry, and the old people got to stand up too. Now we just take care of that.
Driving around these streets, knowing they're mine. The takeover is on. And all my ladies are fine. Ain't she fine? There goes a young blood thinking that ain't no good idea. See, he thinks he's a player, but in him I will instill some fear. Oh, doing nothing wrong.
Could not have a day